everybody, it's RetroGamingNow back with another Fate Friday video. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at every single rare crossbow in the game. There's 8 of them. I'm going to go through, talk about them, say what they might be useful for, and we're going to rank them 1 to 8. Number 8 on the list is the Pincushion. This does 7 to 13 damage, 6 strength bonus, 40 fire resistance, and 2 knockback. So this is one you're going to find pretty early on. This can actually be fished for in town, and you can find it in the dungeon starting at level 3 all the way to level 9. And this one's actually pretty good. The strength bonus is a really big deal, especially early on. And you're going to be able to take out any enemies at the beginning quite easily, thanks to this bow. Number 8, the Pincushion. Number 7 on the list is the Lance Flinger. And the Lance Flinger is kind of a multi-purpose bow. You can see there's a 25% attack bonus, 5% attack speed, 3 bow and crossbow, and 25% more gold drop by enemies. So this is one that has a lot of different ones. The attack bonus and the attack speed, as well as bow and crossbow skill, are going to cause it to do more damage right off the bat, and that's going to make it pretty useful. This is another one you can also fish for in town, but to find it on the dungeon floor, you need to be between levels 8 and 15. And that's why it's number 7 on our list. Number 6 on the list is Dunce Revolver. So Dunce Revolver has 5 ice damage, 7 fire damage, 6 magic bonus, 4 attack magic skill bonus, 12% chance of finding magical items, and 20% movement speed bonus. This one's actually pretty good. This is something that really suits my style of play, sort of a run and gun bow magician. And you can see it's got lots of bonuses to the distance, the damage it deals from a distance, such as the fire and ice damage. But the 6 magic and 4 attack magic skill bonus is really suited for someone who's going to use this to stay away. So this is a bow that's going to be really helpful for somebody who wants to use a lot of spells and not take up a lot of hits. Maybe they don't have a lot of vitality. This one you can fish for at level 4, and to find it in the dungeon floor is between levels 10 and 20. Dunce Revolver. Number 5 on our list is Gloams Cannon, and I think in some ways Gloams Cannon is not as good as Dunce Revolver. However, it does deal more damage, so in that respect I decided to place it 1 above. And you see it does 15 fire damage and 7 knockback. So honestly, as far as a rare item goes, this one's not too special. I think it's pretty decent, more of as like a standard bow. This is the type of crossbow that you'd want to use a lot. But I don't think there's anything too special. However, the damage output is definitely better than the previous one, and that's why I've ranked it where it is. And Gloams Cannon, you can fish for at level 7, and to find it on the dungeon floor, it's between levels 22 and 38. So this is one that you're going to find probably about halfway through your game. Unless you like to fish a lot, then it could be a little bit earlier. Gloams Cannon. Number 4 on the list is Hunter's Twin. And Hunter's Twin actually does more or less what you'd expect. 10% attack bonus, 8 damage dealt, 22% slashing resistance, and 6 critical strike. So as you could imagine, this is something that someone who is a hunter would want to use. Attack bonus, you're more likely to hit, a flat damage dealt, slashing resistance against whatever you're hunting, and 6 critical strike. So this one is really good as far as damage goes, and pretty much someone who's going to come right after them with the bow, not so much a defensive person like Dunce Revolver. This one's a pretty good multi-purpose bow all around. You know, just as far as a weapon goes, this is a pretty good weapon. Not so much for additional bonuses. And this one you can fish for at level 10, and to find it in the dungeon, it's somewhere between levels 16 and 25. So once again, this is sort of an early middle game bow. And if you had the option, I would definitely go with this one over the last one. And now we've reached the top 3, and number 3 is the Deathbite. So this one's 10% damage taken reduced, 4 knockback, and 15% damage reflected. Now, at first glance, those stats don't seem too good, but if you look at it, it's bow and crossbow class fast, and it's a 28 to 65 attack damage. And so the damage is pretty decently high, and a fast attack crossbow is really going to be useful for you. Yeah, so the stats aren't as great, but I still would prefer to have this one over Hunter's Twin just because it just deals more damage. And Hunter's Twin's a slow crossbow, this is a fast crossbow, so your damage per second is going to end up being a lot higher. And that is number 3, the Deathbite. So number 2 and number 1, I think, are pretty close. It was tough for me to decide which was better, but I went with Piercer of the Veil for number 2. So Piercer of the Veil does 15 damage to undead, 12 ice damage, 16% attack bonus, 8% chance of feigning magical items, and 8% mana stolen for hit. So you can see this is actually based on a spectral crossbow, and so there's a couple of things that would be helpful for magicians, such as the mana stolen per hit. But honestly, it's actually just really good at dealing damage. The 15 damage to undead and the 12 ice damage is going to make this bow pretty useful against a lot of different types of enemies. I think most enemies would probably... I think there wouldn't be any enemies that it would be resistant to. They might have an ice resistance, but there's a fair amount of undead enemies as well as ice-weak enemies, and so this one's actually going to be pretty useful overall. However, once again, you see it requires 40 magic, so this is something you're only going to want to use if you're already a magician. This is not going to be so useful to get magic just so you can have this bow, since the bonuses are more effective for a magician anyway. So that's number 2, Piercer of the Veil. So one of the cool things about number 2, Piercer of the Veil, and number 1 is they both can actually be fished for in town. Yes, the 2 best rare crossbows can be found in town, and number 1 is the Gleaming Rictus. 8 electrical damage, 8 undead damage, 8 life stolen per hit, 25% attack speed bonus, and 25% slashing resistance bonus. So I think this one in some ways is pretty similar to Piercer of the Veil in the sense that it does undead damage and an elemental type. But instead of ice damage, this does electrical damage. The 25% attack speed bonus and slashing resistance, again, is better used for someone who's not really focused on magic. It's not that you can't use magic with this bow, but this bow isn't as conducive to that. And so I think this one is really more of a offensive bow as opposed to a defensive bow, if that makes any sense. So I would say someone who uses magic is more of a defensive player a lot of times. But yeah, you can find this one in town, and you can fish for it, and you can actually save it for as long as you want. It does require 84 strength, but the amount of damage it deals is pretty good, 33 to 75, plus the 16 extra damage. And you get an attack speed bonus, which slightly increases your damage per second. And life stolen per hit is always great. You can heal yourself as you're dealing damage. Anyway, those are my picks for the top 8 rare crossbows. In fact, that's every single rare crossbow in the game. If you guys disagree with it, feel free to tell me why you think something should be placed above where it is. Anyways, this has been Retro Gaming Now with another quick Fate Friday video. I look forward to doing these every week, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a great day.